Look at this face. You see this face? This is the face of I don't get paid enough to stop a literal murder from happening right in front of me. Employers, take note. In today's humble opinion, we're giving people a crappy day in Shitman. I mean, Hitman. Maybe Hitman is a superhero simulation game in which your powers are being able to fit into anyone's clothing and advanced psychopathy. Perhaps it's a venture into the world of psychosis as you do whatever the kindly British lady inside of your head tells you to do, even if it means taking out societal and political elites. But most probably it's a stealth game in which you play a contracted killer taking down marks in whatever method you deem worthy. Regardless of how you choose to interpret the overall theme of the game, there's one thing I'm sure we can all agree on. I have no idea what that thing is, but I'm sure there must be one somewhere. Moving on. Hitman is not a game for people like me, or rather, playing Hitman properly is not a game for people like me. It requires an inordinate amount of patience, and if you can't tell by how unevenly my uploads have been distributed on my channel over the past couple of years, patience is something that I struggle with. You give me a gun and tell me to kill people, I've already got my finger on the trigger trying to cap a fool. I don't know what all this sneaking around business is, but it sure is getting in the way of the pop 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 making the bodies drop. If you're the sort of weirdo that likes stalking their prey for hours on end, memorizing their schedule, and making a mental map of their locale so you can exploit them for personal gain, this might be the game for you. It's just a little tedious for me. In fact, my strategy has pretty much devolved into staying my bloodlust long enough to stealthily eliminate whichever target I can reach easiest and then brute forcing whatever remains. It only works every 1 out of 10 attempts, but I still bet that's more efficient time-wise than doing it correctly. Contrary to its supporting genre, action, the game is really all about stopping to smell the roses. And to its credit, it does a great job of setting that atmosphere. The maps in which you'll be exploring are dense labyrinths of intricate detail that make every environment unique, beautiful, and worthy of your attention. All the better, because not only will you be spending a lot of your time there on your first playthrough, but the levels are meant to be replayed numerous times in order to complete various challenges. Completing them gives you experience points for the map that you're playing on, which unlocks different disguises, support drops, and starting items so that you can use your knowledge to carve different paths through it. So if you're skulking about and notice a locked door, you can make a mental note of it and come to the level next time with a lockpick. In my experience, you'll be lucky if you even find a path to begin with, because it seems like everyone in this universe has a severe separation anxiety and are surgically attached at the ass. Occasionally you'll spot a worker concentrating on a task all on their lonesome, but that's more often than not within an already restricted area that is veritably impenetrable without a disguise. And typically, the only way to acquire a useful one is by separating a security unit from his— oh no, wait, he saw you. God damn it. Typically, the only way to acquire a useful one is by separating a security unit from his partner and asking for it politely. And even though there are achievements for and videos of people completing each stage without being seen or switching uniforms, I firmly believe those to be a myth. Because there are so many fucking people the floor's sticky, and each of those people without exception have functioning eyes and ears. Rest in peace, blind and deaf demographic. While I did enjoy the game to an extent, I feel there were some missed opportunities, which is funny because I'm talking about the implementation of opportunities. Once in a while, you'll stumble across something in the map, a conversation, or a piece of paper that will lead to a series of actions you can take in order to get closer to your target somehow. Sometimes, such as in the case of you filling in for a cameraman in Marrakesh, you'll be required to attain a supplementary item, in this case an invitation/membership card to an exclusive club. The issue is that there's no indication whatsoever of where one could possibly attain this card. As it turns out, there's one on the roof of a random residence, and while I'm all for thoroughly exploring the map for answers, what could have possibly led me to explore this specific residence? Granted, there's another one in an employee area within the club itself, but why would I infiltrate a club in order to get a ticket that allows me to infiltrate the club? These are the sorts of things that would never cross my mind, so despite the specificity of the steps in the opportunities, there's a gaping hole of direction. Now, I'm not suggesting that they hold your hand. In fact, I'd rather they minimize the obviousness of opportunities to begin with. How cool would it be if you just overheard a reporter talking about hiring a new camera guy and decided to look into it yourself? What I am suggesting is that it wouldn't completely kill the difficulty to have had more conversations like that to lead you to what you need. Perhaps looking around enough could yield an offhand conversation regarding the club, a jealous friend talking to a member for instance, and you could follow him home to steal the cart. I just think it would be cool if there were more of an information gathering aspect to the game rather than its on-the-nose guidance that only does its job part way. Plus, it would force you to not only pay attention to what you saw, but what you heard, which not only adds another layer of color to the world, but a level of immersion for the player. While Hitman isn't really my cup of tea, I can recognize a good game when I see it. To me, it seems more tedious than it is fun, but I'm well aware that there are plenty of people to enjoy this sort of thing. It looks astounding, the mechanics have an appropriate level of depth that equals the level of difficulty it offers, and there's plenty of replayability in the form of challenges, escalations, which are repetitive missions that gradually add constraints to the win condition, and contracts. There are times when the AI can be a little wonky, or that you can exploit the rules of the game to get away with, well, murder, and there's the issue with the game requiring you to be online in order to track progress for your challenges, but if you're willing to overlook those things and you find the genre appealing, I'd say that it's worthy of at least an 8 out of 10. Thank you everyone for watching, and special thanks to IO Interactive for having created the experience that is Hitman. It's no wonder why these games have the following that they do, and your levels were an absolute delight to get lost in. The attention to detail was absurd. It's an excellent indication of things to come, and I hope you continue to polish this uncommon genre to perfection. Until next time, remember that failure is not the worst case scenario, to glow on with your bad selves, and stay awesome.